Yesterday, you got Dennis Lin from The Athletic tweeting a little Padres news. We knew that the Padres were interviewing some outside candidates, but we got some specific names as he tweeted Benji Gill, Phil Nevin, and Eric Chavez are among the external candidates who are in various stages of the interview process for the Padres' managerial opening. Sources tell Britt Giroli and me, Mike Schilt and Ryan Flaherty, continue to be viewed as the favorites for the job.
So then later on in the afternoon at 1:36 p.m., Britt Giroli, who was tagged by Dennis Lin, said sources clarify Nevin could interview later this week. Benji Gill is in preliminary discussions, and Chavez no longer expected to be in the mix. So you can scratch one of those names out right now, allegedly, and that leaves you with Flaherty, leaves you with Schilt, leaves you with Phil Nevin and Benji Gill.
Maybe Ruben Niebla.
And maybe. I still can't get a handle if that's happened or is going to happen. I think you absolutely have to. You give that man what he wants. You got to stay here because I have a feeling that the roster or the pitching roster is going to be filled with a few guys that are on some prove-it type deals. If Ruben can get in there and do something with Luis Severino, right? Like guys that are maybe on the way out the door of baseball, if he can go in and help those guys get back what they had before on a cheap deal, I think he's going to be paramount to this team's success this year. So you give that man what he wants. If he wants an interview, give him an interview. If he wants a raise, you give him a raise. You cannot afford to lose him.
All three of those names, regardless of how serious the process is right now when it comes to the external candidates, interesting that they all San Diego ties. Phil Nevin, of course, a former Padre. Benji Gill, Castle Park High School, grew up here, as did Eric Chavez, Mount Carmel High School, even though their careers were with other organizations for the most part.
Chavez is out mostly because he's not a former Ranger.
I did see
Benji Gill is a former Ranger, so is Phil Nevin.
I did see that Chavez could be a candidate for the coaching staff, not necessarily the manager's job.
Always one of my favorite players to watch. I played third base. He played third base.
He was fun to watch.
He was really good. I was really bad. I loved watching that guy pick it. I loved his swing. I always thought, barring injury, Ben, I was like, he's going to be one of the best players in the game. I just loved Eric Chavez. So if you can get him on the coaching staff, dude, I am all in. I really like all of these names.
Right.
I can find myself
it, yeah.
excited about most of them.
I covered Nev pretty closely when I was doing pre and post game, and saw the prickly side of him at times,
Sure.
but also saw the smart baseball guy, and have heard the reports that even though he got let go as manager of the Angels, pretty solid reviews from his own clubhouse in how he handled things. He certainly fights for his guys, and I'd be okay if Nevin ended up being the choice. There'd be some trepidation going in because of the lack of success in Anaheim, but at the same time, I know that Phil Nevin would pour his heart into that job coming back to San Diego and being manager of the Padres. Benji Gill is the interesting one.
So interesting to me.
With the experience he's had as a manager in Mexico, it's hard to evaluate how that would translate to the big league level. But, man, you want to talk about some glowing reviews. You hear nothing but fantastic things about Benji Gill.
He's one of the guys that I would walk back my must-have experience takes for because, A.J. Preller has 3 years left on his contract. Doesn't mean, as we just saw with Josh McDaniels, it doesn't mean that they're not, if it didn't go well, they wouldn't fire him and hire somebody new. But let's just say, for all intents and purposes, he's going to be able to play out the rest of his deal, A.J. Preller, 3 more years. Man, you bring in a guy like Benji Gill and do a reset. Seems like a really good culture guy. All the guys on Team Mexico played their asses off for him. Really, really smart baseball guy. Knows the game. He would be the one, I think, with no experience that I'd be like, you know what? I'm really excited about this.
To me, maybe the biggest upside of any of the candidates
Agreed.
that are out there, but also a very big unknown quantity, and you can't afford to get this one wrong. I think that Mike Schilt, to me, still remains the favorite / safest choice / most logical selection with everything that has gone on, with the circumstances that have been, presented to the San Diego Padres right now.
Got some time in the organization.
Yeah.
Got some allegedly good vibes with A.J. Preller. That's obviously important when you're looking for a new manager here in San Diego. So Yeah, I mean, I could get excited. It's not that I wouldn't be excited about Phil Nevin because I always loved him as a player. I loved him as a manager too. He's a red ass dude. Would he? This is total speculation, but like, would he be able to? Well, I mean, he's managed superstars, managed two of the biggest ones, but I don't know. I wonder if he would be the right guy in this clubhouse.
Benji intrigues me.
Benji is very intriguing. He's very, very intriguing.
That's the one that it's tough. It's a tough position because I feel like Bob Melvin's the right manager.
Yeah, of course.
He's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. I haven't seen any of these names really feel like, at best, it's a lateral move. It's not a move forward. Some might even be a step backwards. Benji seems like he could be that step forward.
By that next guy.
Schilt, I have no problems with him if he ends up getting the job. Feels like it's Bob Melvin 2.0. Doesn't really feel like much of a change.
Yeah.
Benji Gill, though,
it does feel
that one feels that's a totally different type of manager.
Makes me a little more tingly than
you like outside the box.
I do,
don't you?
I normally do, but
can you afford to go outside of the box?
I'm hesitant with this team in particular to go outside the box, but again, the connections that Benji Gill has, the way that those guys played for him, the reviews that he gets. I mean, again, I've seen glowing reviews of Mike Schilt as well. I like the fact that Mike Schilt is very fundamental based. I like that. I don't like the small ball scene, but bunting. That's it. I love situational baseball. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just trying to hit home runs, okay? So that's not what I'm saying. But I don't need Tatis up there dropping bunts down to get guys over to second so Xander can hit him in. That's not what I want to see from the San Diego Padres. I do want to see hit and runs. I do want to see double steals. I do want to see fundamental baseball. I love it. That makes me very excited. But Benji Gill, to me, is the one that makes me the most tingly, and it's the one that I feel would really invigorate the fan base. I don't know that Mike Schilt invigorates the fan base. I think Benji Gill does.
Well, culturally, you feel like it might be the biggest change. Just coming from a different league, coming from baseball in Mexico and bringing something different to the table. And I know there's been some fans who say the Padres need a Spanish speaker as their manager. Well, I don't think that that's as big of a deal as some people make it out to be. I don't think there were language barriers in the Padres clubhouse, even the guys who have translators. I think they all understand English plenty well enough that it wasn't that they didn't understand what Bob Melvin was saying, and that's why things didn't work out. So
definitely a different attitude.
I think that's overblown a little bit, but culturally it would be different. I think with Mike Schilt, culturally it's going to be almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
And do you want that or do you not want that? From a consistency standpoint, a lot of guys coming back. You don't want to change too many things around. You've been, tinkering for years. Maybe that's a good thing that culturally you're not changing things. But some would also say that Padres need a little culture shakeup at this point, under the A.J. Preller tenure. And Benji Gill, you'd feel, would be the catalyst that would spark more cultural change than obviously promoting 100%. A Mike Schilt or a Ryan Flaherty.
Yeah, Dominic makes a good point. We would be giving up the puns. We would be giving up the holy Schilt puns and talking Schilt with Mike Schilt, and Schilt hits the fan. And it's a big ask, but
it's a big sacrifice.
It is a big sacrifice, but I can do it.
No, I mean, we could do a heel turn with Benji Heel. I mean, there are puns available. They're just a little more of a stretch, a little harder to get to than the Schilt ones.
I don't want you to go to fantasy camp anymore.
Yeah, we'll just boot that whole segment. We don't. It's fine. We'll be all right. We'll be okay.
Fine. Timeline. World Series could be over tonight, and once the World Series is over, these things can move a little bit faster. The speculation that Phil Nevin could get an interview later this week makes it sound as though the Padres aren't in the end stages of this process. That would make it seem like it would extend at least into next week, even if the World Series did end today. So not expecting any imminent news. If they're still scheduling interviews later on this week, that means, the second interviews, the final details probably couldn't come until at least early next week, middle of next week, but I'm not privy to any inside information on the timeline for the Padres making this announcement.
No, nor am I. I was, these are all names that have been floated around out there. We'll see who does the best job. We'll see who makes the most sense, and whoever it is, I definitely have my ranking of guys I would like to see. And I think Benji Gill is pretty much at the top. Yeah, I think he's probably at the top for me. I think that would be really exciting for this team. And again, it's not a Jace Tingler situation in that, Jace never played in the big leagues. Benji did. He was a good prospect, had a decent career in the big leagues, has been there, and now has some skins on the wall managing down in Mexico. It's a very, very good fit for the San Diego Padres. He'd look dynamite in the City Connects.
Now, who's a good fit with A.J. Preller?
That's it.
I have no idea.
That's it.